Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited for today's video because I'm going to be sharing with you these 40 easy and fun fonts that you can do in your bullet journal or in your artwork. In today's video, I'm going to be using these two different brown tones. These are the CRAYOLA Colors of the World markers, and I really like them because they have this chisel tip, and that makes it much easier to do both thin and thick lines. But of course, you can use whatever colors or markers you have at your disposal. For the first font today, I'm drawing a thick bar in the middle and then writing the word in capital letters around that bar. The next font starts with calligraphy writing, and I'm doing this by putting heavy pressure on the downstroke and light pressure when my pen goes up on the page. After I've written out the word, I'm grabbing the darker color and I'm coloring in the bottom half of the word. I'm creating an ombre effect here, and to make the blending even more smooth, I'm using the lighter color to kind of pull the dark color up at the end. For font number 3, I'm writing out the word in thin capital letters, really simple here, and then I'm grabbing the darker color after this and I'm writing the same word in a calligraphy cursive kind of drawn out font directly on top. The next font is a really simple bubble letter font, kind of like we did when we were kids, just writing out the word in simple bubble letters. Number 5 is probably the simplest font in this whole video. It's literally just capital letters with a dot in between each letter. For the next font, I'm writing out the word in a cursive handwriting slanted towards the right. For the next one, I'm drawing a thick bar across the middle, and then I'm using the darker brown on top of this to write the word directly on top in thin capital letters. The next font, I'm starting by drawing a box, and then I'm drawing a little curve in each corner of that box, and then connecting the edges of each curve with another line to create this outline. Then I'm going to color in that outline with the darker pen, and once I'm done that, I'm going back in with the other pen and writing the word in a simple lowercase font. Font number 9 is another calligraphy font, so I'm writing out the word in that same calligraphy brush stroke, putting heavy pressure on the downstroke. I'm starting with the lighter pen here, and then I'm grabbing the darker brown, and using the very fine tip of this pen, I'm adding a thin line to the right of each downstroke for a shadow effect. For font number 10, I'm starting with a simple lowercase letter, but then I'm adding a little tick at the end of each line to give it a sort of typewriter courier font effect. The next font is just cursive writing, but very long and drawn out. For the next font, I'm writing out the word in a heavy capital block letters, and I'm using the side of that chisel tip to make this a little bit quicker and easier for myself. Once I'm done that, I'm using the fine tip of the pen to draw a line to the right and above each heavy block letter stroke, and this creates a sort of 3D block effect. For font number 13, I'm doing a sort of curvy block lettering font by making a bulge at the end of each line. So I'm making these kind of curves at the end of the H and the A. As you can see, I was running a little bit out of space here, but I managed to squeeze it all in. Once I drew out the block letters, then I grabbed the other darker pen and I just added these little dotted lines on the side of each thick line for a sort of bubble effect. For the next font, I'm writing out the word in a very simple lowercase font, and then I'm using the other marker to draw a sort of rounded rectangle border around the word. For the next font, I'm doing a lowercase cursive font by putting slightly heavier pressure on the downstroke to create this italic font. For number 16, I'm creating a thick, heavy lowercase font first, and I'm being very careful to keep the top of the letters all uniform. Once I'm done that, you could stop there, but I decided to grab my other marker and draw thin lines to the right of each letter for that shadow effect. For the next font, I'm doing a very fun, funky, organic looking calligraphy with no straight lines or sharp corners. Number 18 is super simple, just a regular lowercase lettering. For font number 19, I'm starting by drawing a thick box with the lighter color, and then I'm drawing this curve and a zigzag to make a ribbon banner effect, but be careful to leave a blank space so that it's clear where the ribbon folds. Then I'm using the darker color to write the word directly on top of the ribbon. For the next font, I'm writing the word in capital block letters, but I'm making the stroke on the left of each letter much thicker than the rest of the strokes. The next font is a fancy calligraphy font, so I'm adding a lot of flourishes to the first letter, which is a capital letter, and then the rest of the word is written in an italic or calligraphy font. For the next one, I'm starting with very thin capital letters. I'm keeping the letters super compressed and tight to each other here. Once I'm done that, I'm going back in and adding ticks to the end of every single line for a typewriter effect. For font number 23, I'm again starting with a thicker bar in the middle, and then I'm going to write the word around this bar. This is kind of similar to number 1, but this time I'm using lowercase letters. For the next font, we're again starting with a calligraphy stroke. You'll notice that this is the base for a lot of these different fonts. There's so many fun variations you can do on these. This time I'm going to take the darker pen and outline the calligraphy word that I just created. Number 25 is a really fun one. This is a sort of funky, thicker typewriter font. I'm thickening up all of the downstrokes, and then I'm adding these little triangles to the left of a lot of the straight lines, and I'm adding a round ball to the end of some of the letters as well. Let me know in the comments if you guys would like a more in-depth tutorial of the whole alphabet of this font, because this one is a bit hard to describe generically. The next font is one of my favorites. It's actually my Pico Studio font that I created. It's a fun, curvy, funky, organic lowercase font. None of the letters start or stop at the same level. As you can see, the height is all different, and I'm thickening up a lot of the downstrokes and a lot of the ends of each lines as well. Once I wrote this out, I just couldn't resist but to add a couple little sparkles because it's just so fun and funky. Number 27 is so simple, literally just block capital letters. Next font is also capital letters, but this time I'm making a rectangle out of the leftmost stroke of each letter. For the next font, I'm starting by writing the word in lowercase letters, and I'm kind of rounding out some of the edges, and make sure to space them a little bit further apart than normal, because after I'm finished writing this out, I'm going to grab the darker pen and I'm writing a bubble letter to the right of each, so it's kind of created this shadow effect. You could stop here, but after this I went back in and added these little dashes just for a fun, cute shadow effect. For font number 30, I'm doing another ombre font, so I'm starting with, this time just an italic font, not calligraphy because the letters don't all connect, but I'm writing this out in the lighter pen first, then I've decided to color the top half this time with the darker pen, and then just like last time in font number 2, I'm grabbing my lighter pen once again and kind of dragging the dark color down for a more smooth ombre. For font number 31, I'm drawing that bar in the middle and then using the darker color and writing directly on top. For the next font, I'm creating a fun border with a straight line with this little bump on each side on the left and right, and then I'm using the other pen to just write the word directly inside. You could use any font you want here. For the next font, I'm using a mix of both capital and lowercase letters, but I'm keeping them all the same height. For number 34, I'm doing a sort of block typewriter effect. I'm writing out the word in lowercase letters, but I'm adding another line to the left of each downstroke, and then adding that same tick mark to the edge of the straight lines that we've seen before in the other typewriter fonts. This next font is really fun and cute. I'm drawing out 6 circles, or 1 circle for each letter in my word with the lighter color, and then I'm using the darker color to write the word directly in those circles. For number 36, I'm drawing this wavy line on top, and then I'll draw another one below it, and I'm going to make sure that they're the same, and then I'm writing the word in between the 2 wavy lines. font is sort of a modified calligraphy font. I'm writing out the word in cursive here, but I'm not using heavy pressure on the downstroke. It's all the same. And then I'm going back and adding another line to the left of each stroke to make this kind of hollow calligraphy effect. For number 38, I'm drawing a box with the lighter color and then using the darker color to write directly on top of that box. You can use any font you want here. Next font is just a simple capital letters font, but I'm splitting up the word and putting half of the word on top and half on the bottom like this. And for the very last font, I'm doing another calligraphy font, again splitting up the word half-half like this. And these are the 40 fonts. Which one's your favorite? Let me know in the comments. There are so many different variations you can do on these, so I do hope you guys give it a try. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll speak to you guys next time.